You knew it before the call ever came. Not a vague uneasiness you could explain away, but something precise and settled, already complete within your body before the outer world caught up to confirm it. Maybe it was a phone call you were bracing for long before it rang. Maybe it was a conversation you had already played through in your mind, word for word, because you had already felt exactly how it would land, and then watched it unfold just as you had rehearsed it. Maybe it was something heavier, a loss you had already begun to grieve quietly, privately, before anyone else had even spoken it aloud. And you stayed silent, not because you lacked courage, but because you had no framework for what you were holding, no language that wouldn't make it seem like something was wrong with you. That silence has built over years, across a long sequence of accurate knowings you carried alone. They arrived uninvited, and eventually you learned to act confused about them, because the alternative, claiming what you actually perceived, was too isolating to maintain. This transmission exists because that silence is no longer being allowed to continue unchallenged. This is Arcturian frequency, and the part of you that already knows things before they happen is what brought you here, because it recognized something in this signal that your conscious mind has not yet processed. Let your shoulders drop. Let the weight of needing to explain yourself, even to yourself, fall away for now. What you've been quietly carrying has a name, a mechanism, and a place in the larger structure of reality. And it is about to be fully seen. The Arcturian Council does not prepare transmissions without exact timing. What moves through this channel carries a specific vibrational authorization, issued only when their observation of the collective starseed field reaches a convergence point. The moment when enough souls within a shared frequency lineage have accumulated a level of unresolved recognition that requires direct intervention. They observe, they measure, and they act only when the transmission can land in a field that is ready enough to receive it without distortion. That threshold has now been reached. And this is what has accumulated: thousands of Arcturian starseeds in physical form, carrying a faculty they were never given accurate language for. A function they have been quietly explaining away, suppressing, or labeling as something pathological, when in reality it is one of the most advanced structural features encoded into the Arcturian soul lineage. Today, the Council names that function directly, not as a vague gift, but as a precise structure within your energetic and neurological system. It was installed before this incarnation, calibrated for a purpose your mission requires. Here is the foundational framework. Most human consciousness moves through reality using linear time perception. The past comes before the present. The present comes before the future. Each moment arrives only after the previous one completes. But this is not the only way to relate to time. It is simply the one most commonly activated within third-dimensional experience. Certain starseed fields, especially those carrying a strong Arcturian signature, were encoded at the causal body level with a nonlinear temporal interface. Their energetic architecture does not only receive information from what has already materialized. It also interfaces with probability streams, electromagnetically weighted fields of events that are approaching, but have not yet taken form. What you have been calling a premonition, or that strange, specific certainty that appeared without evidence, was actually a temporal read. Your field was interfacing with an incoming probability stream, and it was accurate. That is why part of you has always known, even in the moments when you dismissed yourself most strongly, that what you were perceiving was not imagination. Let me describe how this has shown up in your life, because there is a distinct experience to being a precognitive starseed in a world that has no category for what you are doing, and I want you to recognize yourself here fully. You have entered situations already carrying a settled knowing of how they would end, relationships, opportunities, confrontations, and been told you were overthinking, projecting, or creating problems. Then the outcome unfolded exactly as you knew it would, and there was no satisfaction in being right. Only a quiet grief, the kind that comes from knowing something in a way that brings you no recognition, because you had no acceptable way to know it. You have felt a clear pull away from certain people or situations without any rational explanation. No evidence, no pattern, just an immediate internal signal that arrived before anything visible supported it. And when that signal proved accurate, as it often did, you didn't trust it more. You trusted it less, because acting on it without explanation made you seem irrational, and you were already carrying enough of that perception. You have felt the weight of something approaching, not quite fear, but a kind of density in the field around you. Days, sometimes weeks, before anything actually happened. You absorbed that weight as if it were your own emotional state. You called it anxiety. You called it something that needed to be fixed. But you were never given a way to distinguish between sensing an incoming probability field and generating anxiety from your own mind. And that ambiguity has been one of the heaviest things you've carried. You have had dreams that felt different, more precise, more emotionally charged. And then, at some later point, they became real. You remember those dreams. Something in you recognized them as belonging to a different category of experience, even before you had the language to describe why. And still, you said nothing. You entered conversations already holding the ending. You stepped into situations already knowing what they would cost. And you carried it silently, because the distance between what you perceived and what could be spoken in ordinary language felt too wide to cross without being seen as strange. Now let me be clear about what this was not. It was not ordinary psychological dysfunction. Even if you have done real and valuable emotional work, through therapy or other forms of healing, this transmission operates at a different structural level. It doesn't replace that work. It adds to it. It reaches into the deeper architecture, the layer those tools were never designed to access. It reaches the function itself, the encoding in your subtle bodies that allows this perception, and the interference that has been making it feel unreliable. That is the level we are working with now. If what I've described resonates with something in you, not just at the level of thought, but somewhere deeper in your body, go to the comments and type 520. That number holds a specific meaning for those it is meant for. It represents the completion of a karmic loop, the moment a soul no longer requires external validation for what it has always known internally. Place it there, and let the field register your presence. Now let's move into the full architecture of this, both what science is beginning to observe, and what the Arcturian tradition has long understood. Researchers studying sensitivity in the anterior insular cortex have found that some individuals show heightened interoceptive accuracy, the ability to detect subtle internal body signals with unusual precision, even before conscious thought forms around them. This region of the brain, which bridges cognitive processing and physical sensation, appears more active and finely tuned in those with strong intuitive perception. In simple terms, the body registers something before the mind can name it. At the same time, quantum physics is exploring ideas that echo what spiritual traditions have described for centuries, particularly through the concept of retrocausality, where information does not move strictly forward in time. Under certain conditions, future states may influence present measurements. This is not just metaphysical speculation. It is an active area of scientific inquiry. Now place the Arcturian framework on top of that. Your energetic template, what the Council describes as a 12-strand DNA structure, of which your physical double helix is only a partial expression, contains what are known as temporal perception nodes. These are non-physical receptors encoded primarily in the upper causal and spiritual layers, designed to interface with probability fields rather than fixed events. While your physical senses respond to what has already happened, these nodes respond to what is approaching, the energetic signature and emotional weight of events before they manifest. For most people, these nodes remain largely inactive due to collective conditioning and inherited energetic suppression. But Arcturian starseeds with this function entered with these nodes partially activated. Not fully online, but active enough that reception has been happening, often since early life, without the clarity that full activation would bring. That is why the signal has felt unreliable. Genuine temporal perception and anxiety-based projection have been coming through the same channel, blending together until they felt indistinguishable. What this transmission introduces is not amplification, but separation. A clear distinction between what you are truly receiving and what your mind is generating from fear. That distinction is the foundation for everything that follows. Before we move further, there is something important to acknowledge. This sensitivity is both energetic and neurological, and it is deeply affected by the physical state of your body. Brain fog, inflammation, and low-frequency nutrition patterns all create interference in the very system you are trying to refine. Your body is not separate from this ability. It is the hardware through which it operates. If you want to maintain the clarity this transmission begins to open, you need to support the body that carries it. Now, let's begin the work. Close your eyes, if you can. If not, soften your gaze until the room becomes secondary, no longer demanding your full attention. Turn your awareness inward. Feel the weight of your body where you are sitting. Notice the pressure between you and the surface beneath you. That contact matters. The work we are doing takes place in the upper layers of your field, and your physical body needs to stay grounded as it happens. Take a slow breath in through your nose. Fill the lower part of your lungs. Hold it gently at the top. Then release it fully. Let the exhale soften your face, your jaw, the muscles around your eyes. You've been reading the world through those eyes for a long time. Let them rest. If you have amethyst nearby, hold it in your non-dominant hand or place it near the crown of your head. Its frequency supports the connection between your crown center and the higher structures we're engaging. If you don't have it, hold the intention of it. Intention carries the same function. Bring your awareness to the crown of your head. Let your attention rest there, lightly, without effort. Now become aware of a column of light. Deep indigo at the edges, with a thread of violet and silver moving through the center. This is the Arcturian signal. It has been aligning with your field since this transmission began. Now you are consciously opening to receive it. The light enters through the crown and moves into the temporal perception structures in your upper field. You may feel pressure, warmth, or a sense of expansion above your head. That sensation is real. The nodes are responding. A separation protocol is being introduced. One that creates a stable distinction between incoming signal and internal noise. Between what your field is actually reading and what your nervous system produces from fear or past conditioning. The separation is precise. Like gently pulling apart two things that have been pressed together for so long they felt like one. The frequency of labradorite is woven into this layer of the transmission, the quality of shifting light, of revealing what wasn't visible a moment before. This is the frequency of multidimensional perception. It is establishing what the Council calls a discernment membrane, your ability to receive information without immediately distorting it through emotional reaction. Bring your awareness now to your heart center. This is where precognitive perception passes through before it reaches conscious awareness. That's why it first appears as a feeling, a contraction, an expansion, a weight, or a sudden lightness in the chest. Breathe into this space. Feel it as a warm, expanding field. The work done above is now integrating here. What comes through your system will begin to carry a different quality than what your emotional body generates on its own. You will start to feel the difference. If emotion rises, let it. Release is part of the recalibration. Now bring your awareness to the solar plexus. This is your center of personal authority, your ability to act on what you know without needing validation. Because knowing something means nothing if you don't trust it. Breathe here. Feel something steady, grounded, a quiet certainty that does not need to prove itself. Now move your awareness down to the root, through your body and into the earth beneath you. Feel the connection, the stability. Let anything that has shifted move downward and release. Take one full breath through your entire body, from crown to root. A single wave of coherent energy moving through every layer of your system. The separation is now in place. The signal is clearer than it was when you began. Slowly open your eyes. Let the room return at its own pace. What you've just moved through is significant. Integration will continue over the next 72 hours without requiring your effort. Let it happen. In the days ahead, you may notice a change in how your knowing feels. Not louder, clearer. A true signal will feel quiet, steady, and without urgency. Fear-based thought will feel different, more pressured, more insistent, more tangled. The space between those two is what has just been expanded. Trust the quieter one. If something arose during this process, write it down. Return to it later. Drink more water. Rest when your body asks. Spend time in direct contact with the earth. And pay attention to your dreams. This is where the signal may come through most clearly while your conscious filters are softened. You are not imagining things. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are a highly sensitive receiver operating in a noisy field, without the tools to separate signal from interference. What has changed is the clarity. The ability you sensed was always possible, the clean, reliable knowing without fear, is now becoming accessible. It was always there. You were never broken. You were carrying something the world simply had no language for. And that changes now. Something has settled in your field today. The next 72 hours are a continuation of this process. Let them unfold naturally. What comes next is another layer entirely. Understanding the connections in your life that have felt unexplainable. The relationships that carried a pull beyond logic. A future transmission will explore that, soul contracts, and the difference between twin flames, karmic mirrors, and catalysts. But for now, while your field is still open, there is another transmission available about those unexplainable connections, the ones that felt encoded, not random. If you've experienced even one connection like that, that is your next step. Don't return to scrolling. Your field already knows what it needs. And what it needs is already in front of you. Click into it, and continue while the channel is still clear. The knowing that brought you here was always real. Now you understand why.